Oh yeah, hello everybody. It's Archidabble team with us right now. It's three beautiful, lovely ladies, Sude, Linda, and Elif Nur, and I would like to welcome you all.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Hello.
Hi.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourselves at the beginning?
Yeah, I'll start. My name is Elif Nur. I'm one of the three co-founders. I have just finished my BA undergraduate of architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful. Okay.
similar to Elif, I'm Sude. I have also just finished my BA undergraduate degree at the University of Westminster here in London. And I am also one of the co-founders of Archidabble.
And I'm the last co-founder of Archidabble. My name is Linda, and I've come to the end of my BSc in Architecture and Environmental Design.
That's beautiful. I think my first question starts actually when you guys said Westminster. I literally applied for masters in Westminster 2 years ago, and I got also, how do you say, I had the letter of acceptance. I had like half time kind of scholarship, but then Corona occurred, and then a year later, I kept reading books about entrepreneurship, doing businesses, and all the other stuff, and somehow like I decided to stay here. And but for me, it's like Westminster itself. It's always this thing in my heart. In Turkish, we say kalbimde bir yeri var. Like there's something still in your heart, and that's why I wanna. Firstly, I want to ask you guys about, especially probably would be about two of you Turkish people. Like, how is it for you to be in England, so to say, and to live amongst all those different, let's say, cultural different nationalities, and for a Turkish person, or like even for you, Linda, like how do you
Um,
what do you
I
want to
think
start?
Um,
I think for everybody who's listening, something to clear up is me and Elif aren't students who are regarded as international. We were both
Mm-hmm.
born and raised here, so off the bat, we don't have much of a comparison to make
Oh,
because we didn't
okay.
come from somewhere where we were studying architecture in Turkey, for example, and then we came here at some point. We have done all our education here. Um, so after that, putting that aside, uh, studying in London to us is, well, I'll speak on my behalf. It's like studying, I think, anywhere else if you're studying in your hometown. It doesn't seem any different because the environment that you are brought up in just continues into uni. So being surrounded around people of different cultures and so on is it's honestly great. Because you're widening your perspective, you're seeing a completely different understanding of something, a different perception from a different person's background. Um, so in that sense, the multicultural surrounding that we're in is definitely great and something to take advantage of. Other than that, we've got really bad weather, so it's not exactly the most physical environment, the nicest to be in. But yeah, that's my input.
Cool, cool.
Mm.
Anybody who wants to add anything else? Like, do you have the same past, Elif Nur? Like similar?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I think in some sense a bit of a privilege to be in such like a multicultural area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you feel it as well. Even if we've been born and raised here, the minute we leave London, it there's a very significant difference, and you can clearly tell. And going to a university that is so diverse, it there's it's like nothing is ever um like outlandish. Like, everything is kind of expected. There's different cultures, everyone's mixing. There's so many different like groups and people and societies. It's very easy to mix into those, like without being from certain cultures, that you can still experience them. I think it's really great, and I think it in a sense it allows for you to be a lot less narrow-minded when you're in a multicultural environment. But I agree to everything that Sudha also said.
yeah, and just to add on to that as well, like I think being exposed to so many different cultures as an architecture student is quite valuable, because I think it is important to be open-minded when you're designing for kind of like a world where, like, you know, so many cultures are mixed in so many different places. You do need to kind of have that open mind and be open to what different communities need, and I think that's one of the benefits of studying at a London university like Westminster. Yeah.
Especially Westminster, you know, it was the top of my selections, I would say, when I was applying for the masters, because the location itself, it's at the very heart of London, you know. It's crazy to have that vibrance in the same time. Like when I was trying to imagine my life if I would apply for the master, I would like, okay, I wake up in the dorm, or like, I don't know, place I stay, and then go out, like just get inside the London all the time, just walk through the streets, that those vibrancy and everything. That attracted me a lot. Normally I've seen there was other options like Southeast London, for example, like South Bank. There was I don't know, some other options that were like not very at the heart of the center, but more like the district, like peripheral zones of the city. So I would say, okay, no, it needs to be inside the heart, because I'm a social person and city is active, and I want to be always. By the time I was studying, let's say, I also wanted to be able to involved into practices itself. Maybe not solely architecture, but design and other sides of it. And I also want to ask you that one, like how you guys find it. I think we lost somebody here.
Yeah.
She'll be keeping up for sure. Let me just ask you the question, and I'll just keep up with her. And how do you guys feel like comparing some kind of university? Let's say, I don't know if you had the chance to see the other universities, but to be inside the London, like how does it feel?
I definitely think that in London you're exposed to wide range of architecture around you, like around the kind of university vicinity. And like, I remember when I was applying to universities, I did go and visit the University of Bath, and the kind of atmosphere there is so different. It's like in the west of the country, and there, I think, I mean,
Maybe
because I think the
have her
campus
again.
is
Hold on a
it's really,
second. I think she's coming, but I'm just trying to make sure
yeah,
that if she's alive or not in the studio.
yeah, yeah. I think she's coming back.
I don't know. Yeah, I think she'll keep up. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah,
Sorry about
okay.
that.
But yeah, in general, I think where university life is kind of really embedded into like the space around uni. As soon as you walk outside campus in London, you kind of, you know, feel like you're in the city again. With other universities, I think there is still kind of like a campus bubble where if you're on kind of site, you kind of have to leave the whole university premises to feel like connected to the architecture. But that's just kind of how I felt like when I went to those two different places, and I think I did prefer kind of being immersed in like the contrast between old and new buildings in London. I think it was really cool. Yeah.
So the question I asked, let me just repeat it for Elif Nur, and maybe if
Sorry.
anybody, it's okay. Like it's just adds the vibrancy to the speech. It's more organic right now. Some people just leaves. Oh, I'm bored. You guys can continue, you know, and then you come back. I asked like, how is it like to be like in the heart of London? Because you know Westminster itself is situated like right inside the London. If I'm good with Google Maps and locations. That's why I asked this question. So Sude will be continuing,
Yeah.
I
I
guess.
think I personally don't live on campus or in student accommodation. I'm not too far from uni. I'm like a half an hour underground journey away from it. And I had only applied to universities that were in the heart of London / in the district area. So I hadn't applied for any universities outside of London. And I visited 3 out of the 5 that I had applied to. And me personally, I didn't really mind where in London, like central London, it was based. As long
Mind
as
wearing.
as long as it had good connection. um,
Can you repeat that word for our Turkish listeners? Mind
Which one?
wearing, you said?
I said,
What was that? Mind wearing.
guys, what did I
Mind
say?
wearing?
I
Is
think you
it
said you didn't mind where in London.
mind
Yeah, I
where?
didn't mind where in London. Yeah. Benim için fark
Ah,
etmedi.
I see. Yeah.
Benim için fark etmedi yani.
Ah, I see. I thought like
And
it was it was just only one
Together.
word. Yeah,
no,
together.
no,
Okay.
no. And yeah, so I had applied to. If I had to compare, I can compare a University of Arts London, which is St Martin's for their architecture area specifically, and they're very close to our uni actually. But it's for me what mattered most was. Okay, for me off the bat, it was going to be I am in London because I've only applied for universities in London, and I've always lived in a very like hustle bustle, very loud city, constant horns, constant ambulance, police in the back.
Traffic. Great.
Yep. So for me, it didn't seem like a new discovery. Let me say, my lycée was very close to my university, anyways. So it wasn't a big change for me, in my opinion.
I think just adding on to that, it's just really convenient. Like you're at the central, so you have access to all of these other like exhibitions. There's like something that we have in London, which is Open City. So I mean, Sude and Linda have both done it before, where you go out and it's like a couple of days where you can go into buildings which are usually closed off to the public. Things like that. There's like a lot more opportunities in that sense. Also in terms of like how, like who you can invite into the university, like as like extra lecturers and things like that.
Ah,
I think
that's nice.
because it's a lot more accessible. It just because it's just London and it's like everyone is conveniently able to come into London or already is here. I think in that sense there's a lot more opportunities. Also, it's just really quiet when you leave London. It's just not the same like hustle. There's like loud environments where you might be able to interact with people as like easy as you might do in London, because it's very common for you to meet someone here and then be like, oh, do you want to go and eat food here, or do you want to go here? Like there's always an option, whereas like once you go a bit outside, it's I would assume it's not as easy. But yeah.
I think we saw the advantage of people being very close and practices being close to our university when we would hold events as a society. So for this academic year, all three of us took part in the Architecture Society for Westminster. We all had main committee roles. So when it came to doing that, we had external lecturers come in for specific events. And we needed those people to be able to access the university very quickly for specific times and so on. So I think through that, you definitely see the advantage of being in the heart of London.
That was excellent answers, guys. There are so many things to talk about, like the answers you guys given actually, because especially when it comes to architecture, the main reason also why I want to mention this one was my school itself. I was graduated from Izmir Institute of Technology, which is so far from the city center. It was like such rural and remote area. Only sound we hear was the voice of the sheeps and the dogs, like literally so organic. And I mean, in a sense, it has its own kind of beautiful style. Let's say it's fully natural and organic things. But especially when you're an architect, you want yourself around to be built. I would prefer, let's say, like, okay, nature itself is also beautiful, but you get inspired from things. You get inspired from the people, the vibrancy and the behavior. Like architecture is like mostly 90% of it. Some people say is like it's all about people, but I would still say like also it's a little bit about nature. So 90% is like about people. So it's like we kind of understand the human behavior like mostly. That's because we serve to humanity most of the time,
Yeah.
unfortunately. My professor had a famous word. He was like, he said like, architects are sinners, you know, because we sin to nature because we change the nature. Like nothing, like anything you do, you're just trying to make it as sustainable as possible. But as long as you just interfere it, you're changing it. So you're just trying to show people that our sin is not that much. Like we're gonna sin obviously, but let's just make it a little less, you know. So in a way,
I think like in that sense, being in like London is such. I mean, just as any city, like if you go to one part of London and then you go to somewhere else, like a different section, the architecture varies so much just because of like historical things that have taken place over time. But I feel like when you're in a city, you're kind of like open to hearing a lot of people's opinions as well. And obviously, like you said, we also design for people. And I mean, like personally, I think like one of the roles of an architect should be to create enjoyable spaces for the people that are going to use it. So to constantly be surrounded by the thoughts and the opinions, even if it's not your project, like hearing people's reactions to other projects, it's something that you can kind of get to see not only just like through the internet, but also in person. I think that's something that's kind of you see in cities more than you would see on the outskirts.
yeah,
But
okay,
yeah,
that's
definitely
nice.
agree.
Okay, there's one thing I also wondered so much. It's a really simple question, but I do really, I like. I want to see it from each of your perceptions. So, how you guys met? Like, how was the process of meeting? Like, how it developed? Let's say. Let's start
So
with you,
we-
Linda.
We actually met quite early on. I think right at the start of university during Freshers Week.
Okay.
I think I remember meeting Elif in person. I got to know Elif more before I got to know Sude. I think we had some sort of social event. During the
Grouping
first week
starts
of
so
uni.
early.
Yeah. And then I think Elif and I started talking. And then I think the week after that, when classes started, Sude and I were put in the same studio, and we were in the same group for our first task to do together. So naturally, we just like started talking that way, and then you guys can like add on how like we all
Classic
came together as,
architecture in this one is
yeah.
like, can we be in the same group? I think we can do it.
So,
It's
like,
like-
Linda said, Elif and Linda had met before I had met either of them, and I had a very small idea of who Elif was, because before the actual like social events began, I don't know how, but somehow we all ended up in a WhatsApp group chat together. So all the first years that were going to join Westminster were on a group chat. And I had seen her
Classic.
name on the group chat. I didn't-
Turkish name. Oh.
I tried to stalk, but she had nothing on the social medias. And then
Toprağım.
and on the second day, so the day after Linda and Elif had met, I had met with Elif separately. And I think Elif would agree, on that day, we realised how much we clicked and how much we got along. So I knew for a fact I was going to keep Elif to a side. Like, she was going to be my
But-
friend.
Like, is there any like really specific memory you guys can remember? Like maybe you were cutting things together and then like, oh, we really do things simultaneously. We're just like so good at it, you know? Okay, I got you. Something like that.
I think
like more than I'm going to cut you off. More than like architecture related, because in London universities you have like a week before class
Yeah, like
starts that
orientation
you
kind
have-
of. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like just loads of social events, and
Yeah.
like we kind of just like gauge each other's like like character, more on like a person, like how you are, do our values align, like do you think that we'd get along with this person, more than like, do we think the same architecturally, or like do we design the same, or do we cut this the same, or it's more like, can I see myself getting along with this person as a friend, like, especially for me, because I'm not very social in comparison to Sude.
To be honest,
I find it a little bit more difficult. So when I met Linda on the first day, we were with a group of people, but she was the person that I was just by her side. I was like,
but you know, I would say you're social, but maybe you're not the one who approaches, like, let's say you just, I don't know, maybe stay passive, I don't know, or am I just totally opposite? I don't know.
No, you're correct. I think out of us three, I'm the person who approaches people. And
yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I remember I had actually approached these two on the first day, but I don't have any...
two. I choose you.
I don't recall.
Okay.
Well, I do recall a bit of it, but I don't recall much of it. But I proper got used to, like, actually, like, had a conversation with Elif the second day of university orientation week, and then I think by the end of that week, we found out which design studios we were going to be in for the rest of the year. I don't know how, like, Turkish universities do it, but what happens here is we have design studios that are set by the department, and we're within those design studios and responding to briefs for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with Linda and being in the same design studio. I had, like, we didn't get to pick. The department had chosen. And Elif, I remember telling me, saying, Linda's a good person, stick to Linda. And I remember I stuck to Linda from that straight point on. And then we were just sort of...
Whisper goes on.
I was alone, so I was like, if I'm alone, then at least you have someone. I was like, I talked to Linda probably for about an hour maximum, but she seems like a great person. You should just stick with her.
Yeah.
But eventually we did all start hanging out together, like at lunch times and things like that.
Linda is a victim here eventually. It's like, you guys have been sharing me without telling me.
No, I mean, I think, like, we did end up hanging out together pretty soon, like after the first few weeks. We, like during lunch times and stuff, we would, like, just chill together.
Yeah, I mean, like, at the end, when you're an architecture student, most of your time, like literally 90% of your time spends with somehow architecture. Like, that's like, it's not easy. Guys, people, whoever listening this, it's not easy. Like, it's not easy to study architecture. Anybody says like it was just piece of cake, I don't know, probably they're like obsessed about it, or like really they didn't study architecture, you know. So that's why I would say like literally 80-90% of it, like, you, I don't know, create plastic models, you design stuff, you just keep your head down and think about it like days and days, even if just without a scratch on the paper. So mostly like your activities also come together in a way, like you and your architecture friends, let's say from the same faculty, you're like families with them, because you see more than you see your family.
Yeah, this is so true. I think I've seen Sude and Linda more than I've seen my family this past year.
Yeah, I think
it's crazy. It's crazy.
There were many days where I just wouldn't see my dad. We live in the household, but I would completely miss him because our schedules wouldn't line up at all. Which just goes to show, like, you have to be dedicated and willing to sacrifice your time to, like, do at least above average, because, I mean, everybody has their own expectations and goals. But if you really want to get there and, you know, stick out, you really need to dedicate your time.
Also, one more question about the maybe the, how can I say, like, about the international students, you know, like, do you have, let's say, can you tell like the amount, like it's like 50% for example, or less than that, like, do you know?
I think the
overall
consensus at University of Westminster is that it has a lot of international students, and I would say it's well balanced. And you're very likely to come across multiple international students whilst you study here. Like whether that's through the course or whether that's through societies and events, you're bound to come across somebody who's international. I'm going to say on a whim, it's 50-50. I wouldn't say one is more than the other. It doesn't stick out to the eye. I'll put it like that.
So it's more like, we can say it's more dense than normal situations, let's say, like ratio, I would say.
I think it depends, because there's definitely universities that are more heavily international.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there's universities nearby us. You can tell when you're like, if you were to go onto their campus, it definitely feels like 90% international, 10% national, or from within the city. But then there's other places like Westminster which are a bit more 50-50.
Okay. So, anything you want to add? You were going to add something, I guess, Linda.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add on to just add on to what Elif said. I think it also, like the further out you get from London, like in general, like the less international students you have. I know some of my friends who study in other parts of the country. Like I know that like when we've kind of caught up about our university experiences and things like that, like in general I got the vibe that there are less international students around them than like, for example, me and my course mates who study in the heart of London, but that's just like in general. But yeah,
I see. I asked this because I know the importance of being around internationals, because I also did Erasmus 1 year in Italy, and it was like literally I would say it's a marvelous experience, because your mind like opens up, like you're open-minded more than ever, because those people which have different cultures, different families, backgrounds, and let's say set of behaviors and manners when are different, and you get to learn from them. And there are things that are similar between you guys, and there are things that are like less like different, but it's like fun to like experience all that. And it was for me like it changed. Like I can, for example, if you ask me, I tell myself Baran before Italy and Baran after Italy, like Erasmus, because I'm totally like 100% changed. And that's why like I think to grow, I would still say grow. I mean, I don't consider myself that young. You guys are younger than me still, I guess. But still to grow like in this habitat of international people, I think it'll give you a lot of experience. Like architecture itself, it's one thing, but social presence, like social identity and understanding the human communications, I think those types of characteristic features will be more important, I think, mostly in the future, I would say. I'll be drinking some soda, guys, if you don't mind. And if you're like curious for it's a Turkish one. It's Kızılay. It's called Kızılay. Teşekkür ederim. It's do you know Afiyet olsun, Linda?
Afiyet olsun, yeah.
Yes, he does.
Probably, yeah. I was like, you probably pick up some Turkish language, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, some words.
Some words.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to hearing those words for sure. I mean, like also I want to add one kind of this thing on this kind of show. Like I want everybody to pick up their favorite drinks. I'll tell you on the break. There'll be some 5-10 minutes break maybe if you guys want. I don't know, if you just drink water, it's okay. But if you say, "Oh, I drink whiskey all the time, I'm gonna drink my whiskey," then it's okay. I'll still be alright. But for now, I'll drink soda. And so let me ask my question first. Then I'll keep on drinking. Let's just come to the case we're gonna talk about today. The corporation, I would say. The teamwork you guys created, how does the idea just strive from the beginning? Let's say, let me just ask you this for the beginning, and then we'll continue.
Okay. I'll explain the start of it. So we had just finished first year, and architecture here for undergraduate is 3 years. So we'd finished first year, and oh, I live in a city.
Somebody is just making crime. Is
Yeah.
it crime or ambulance? It's different noise, by the way. It's different sound than Turkey.
Yeah. Sorry, I continue.
It's
We
okay.
finished first year, and I think I had said I wanted to start something. So I was thinking
Start something.
I want to start
Like a start?
Yeah.
Okay.
so like something to do with architecture that was outside the curriculum, because like the curriculum is okay until one point, but then I wanted to like expand my like network, my skills, and also it's like I wanted to. We looked for so much help in first year, and there were a few places that we could go to, like platforms and people who had put things on the internet, but also maybe do the same in return. So I remember, I think I said it on a FaceTime call. We were FaceTiming, and we were doing that a lot because of COVID.
Yeah, obviously.
And it was like the start of COVID, and uni had just closed. And I said, I want to start something like a blog, but I don't want to do it alone. Because one person's skill set can only reach.
I
so
feel
much
lonely
anyway.
when I.
Yeah,
Can you guys?
I was like, COVID has given me attachment issues. Let's do it together. So we kind of decided that all three of us together would start a blog platform, in a sense to kind of expand our own skills, but to also give, like, provide content and information that we were looking for in first year, that the next like generation of architects, or the years below us, they might be looking for the same information, and instead of them struggling, why should we not help them out as well? Anyone want to take over?
I think you were going great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely something that we worked hard on between first and second year. Like, I remember we spent that summer in lockdown, but working on like the brand and like the things that we were going to provide on the platform. And I remember we had a lot of kind of, you know, Zoom meetings and things like that, where we really wanted to make kind of, you know, the blog something that was personal to us, something that we were all part of. And yeah, I think we just spent a lot of time on it. And yeah.
I mean, at the point of deciding that we wanted to do it, we didn't have a clue of like, was it just going to be the blog? We didn't even think about having an Instagram. We just thought we're going to provide content, like I said, that we were looking for ourselves. And also, like, we didn't know a name, we didn't know anything. Like, it was just a small idea. Like, it was just something so basic, and like so many other people were already doing it. It was also a question of, within this crowd of people, is the content that we're going to be providing going to be useful for anyone? But we decided to do it anyway.
Yeah, you never know unless you try, right?
Yeah, and you just got to do it sometimes and see how it works out. We didn't lose anything from doing it. If anything, we've gained like an amazing platform, and people we've met, people like yourself.
I mean, I'm glad to meet you guys for sure. I like it's a similar roads, because like I'm still kind of sometimes I'm with my friends, but mostly what I do is by myself. But still, like I took the notes. One sentence you said. It's like something about architecture that is outside of curriculum. It's like there was an urge for you guys, probably for all of you, because you also involved in this later on, and it's like this urge comes from somewhere, right? Like you say like, okay, because how I perceive architecture school is like you might tend to really locked inside the box too much, and then you may not realize the real life itself, like really. But when you do something different, you're just opening the outside world right now, like with what you do. You see like how societies and how people react, because it's the best way to do it, and social media is probably the best tool to reach what you do to many people so easily. You know, you can just click and share, like reels just offering like literally more than 10,000, 20,000 people, like if you have like simple few 5 to 10 likes, like so easy, you know. So it was really it's a factful for a person to see like, okay, what I do is not inside the box, but like why the people just appreciate it, but more like, oh, some people, this is how it goes, like this is in reality, this kind of stuff.
I think when you refer to the urge, alongside just wanting to do something extracurricular to university, I think every architecture education out there, I mean, this is a big claim, but I can almost like guarantee it. There's always
There are a lot of things going on right now. You can say it
there's
like
always something missing. Like
controversy, yeah.
I've yet to see a perfect architecture education, you know, just given to students.
Yeah, I agree.
This isn't to throw dirt at universities or anything, because architecture is firstly a creative subject and it's subjective. It's not like it's very hard to say that something is wrong unless it's something related to technicals and, like, you know, the physics of architecture.
Yeah, there are truth in architecture, but still, like most of the sides of it, perceptional.
With uni and like the creative side of it, or when you're designing, just because your tutor says, you know, they don't like it, doesn't mean it's bad design. It's just preference. But more so that there was a lot of, and this isn't to throw dirt at universities or our university specifically, but I think with our first year education, there was a lot lacking when it came to digital skills. And we like the representation and the fact that, you know, if I want to make a collage that's so and so this good, I need to actually have a background knowledge in 3D software, Photoshop and stuff like that. And if that's not being given to students, then they're going to struggle. And I think that's,
you know, you said something like probably mesmerize people who studied also in our school, especially the same, like literally, it's like literally the same experience we had in Turkey, in Izmir. And the 4 years we studied, most of the technological knowledge, I would say, we learned by ourselves, because there is no I learned Photoshop from my upper grades, let's say. Like I was just first grade, and the third grades, they were just, I don't know, somehow they were just too nice to us. Just open a kind of lesson, kind of just to help us. And like obviously what they wanted in turn was kind of like, they also had this sort of blog thing, and then they want us to follow. So they taught us Photoshop, for example, Illustrator, those kinds of stuff. But nobody in school, like no professors, no teacher, like we all did it by ourselves. But I'm really surprised, by the way, to hear it. Is it the same in your country and city?
Don't be surprised, because we've spoken about this topic to tutors before, and there's tutors out there who think we should actually teach ourselves the digital side of architecture. There's some who think the complete opposite.
Wow.
But when you relate it to the urge of starting Archidabble, that was like the main area where we saw that there were things missing, and with what we had learnt in first year, we could provide content and tutorials for people who are going to be joining in first year as well. I think that's also another urge and another reason as to why Archidabble did what it did.
So since the name come out right now, I would also want to ask you, where is the name, the Archidabble? Like where does it come from?
I feel like this duty falls on me. Linda, are you gonna do it?
I'll go for it.
Go
So
for
I
it.
remember we did spend a long time trying to come up with a name for the blog, because I remember we had all our kind of ideas for the content and things like that kind of running in the background. But I think we were brainstorming ideas one day, and then I think we came across the term dabble somehow,
Dabble.
and we thought it was a good kind of way to kind of put architecture and dabble together. Because with our blog, we didn't want it to be a place where people came and saw us as experts in something. I think we wanted kind of the nature of the blog to be more, this is what we learned, and this is what we took from our experience studying at university, and this is how we're interpreted into tutorials and experiences for you guys to benefit from. We're dabbling in different areas of architecture, in different skills, trying out different things, and we thought that Archidabble was a good name for us. Yeah.
Welcome back, Elif. you,
Hello,
you
sorry.
the tea was cooking. You needed to go. I see. It's I was gonna say
Yeah.
like dabbling into different fields of architecture. That's a nice way to say that. Actually, I would say
Yeah.
like when you say it's, I feel like it's like brain is like a child. It's like you just close your eyes, it doesn't stop. It just goes from places to places. So it's just kind of like your thinkings and your brain inside the architecture. But yeah, I see Archidabble. Like there are a lot of like for example, Architolks. You may know them, and there are a lot of others
Yeah.
like like Logbook Gabriel. He's also amazing.
Yeah.
And
I
like
think
that.
it,
I mean,
yeah, it was
yeah, go
cliche
on.
to keep the archy bit, but we also just wanted people to instantly know that we were
Yeah,
related
exactly.
to architecture. As
Yeah, like
much
kind of
as
CEO side of it. Yeah.
yeah. But to add on to the dabble bit, because when we started, we only just finished the first year of our undergraduate degree. We are the bottom of the food chain, and so if you saw
The food
architecture,
chain.
we are. If you saw like architecture as the sea, we were like this ripple, this dabble within that sea, of people like giving content out there as well. Like that's also another part
Sea
of the
sea
explanation.
turtle inside the
Basically.
slowest animal.
Yeah.
No, I would still say like your biggest advantages. I would say still like 3% started
Mm.
this now, and this can lead to something huge. I would still say, because I think what's like the most important thing these days, especially this very modern and individualized society, and my beautiful English too in the same time. I mean, it's like really hard to cooperate with people right now. Like, especially after you graduate, you'll see it by yourself. Like, people tend to be so much individualized. You just apply for jobs, you go inside, and you only cooperate with the people in your cooperation. Let's say when you want to create a startup or like something, let's say entrepreneurial, after you graduate, like when your responsibilities start, you hardly ever find people. But what you did from the early ages right now, you literally created an asset right now. It may not maybe sound so serious at the beginning, but what makes it really serious is, I think, like your mindsets are involved in this right now. It's all about like company and corporates. They are like literally collective. I know like Harari has a really nice way of saying this one. If you guys know about Sapiens, do you know Homo Sapiens, the
Yes.
book?
The book.
Yeah,
The book.
like
Yeah.
it's like there was a part that says like companies are the collective imaginations of people. It's just like what you do collectively. It doesn't have to, like, what you do is the same thing. Like when you find something, some kind of purpose to serve people somehow, maybe later on, but what you do is already nice. Like you're just creating your own community, right? Like there are stages of social content creation at the moment, but maybe later on this could lead to something really beautiful. So I think that's important.
Yeah. I think
I
like,
agree. I think looking back,
go.
oh,
Go.
gonna cut you off.
I'll be like,
I think looking back, I'm really glad that we started when we did as well, because not only was it that like 3 people's skill set was better than just one person, but also starting the platform meant that we were learning from the people that had just started to now follow Archidabble. Like there's been many times where we've been like in desperation, like posting on the story and being like, does anybody know how to do this? Like, can anyone help me out? Does anyone have any ideas? And there's always people that do respond. And then when we do solve it, it's something that we share back onto the same platform. So it's more than just like us being in our own little group and like creating content that we know from our perspective, but also the people that do follow us contributing to our knowledge and like us helping them helping us. So I'm glad we started it when we did, because there's been many times where we've had help from people that we wouldn't have had otherwise, especially with what Sude was saying, so like not getting much digital help within the university. That's something that really came across through the platform. But I mean, even until this year, like it's almost a two-way thing. Like we provide content, but there's times where, you know, we're also students, so we still don't know what we're doing in some aspects, or we might have questions about jobs and like after you graduate, and there's always someone on the other end that has something to contribute to the conversation, which is great, I think. So I don't think we would have been as successful in that, like in having that much of like a responsive following if we had started it later on, especially given that the whole like COVID happened just after like we started. It's definitely like a big plus for us.
Yeah. And I think also becoming part of like the wider architecture community also prepares us for when we go out into practice, or to make those kinds of important links like early on, like where we might have gotten into contact with someone like to do shared content, or when we've reached out for help on our stories and someone's, you know, helped us out, and then we kind of share that. I think it gets us out of this kind of architecture bubble that it's easy to fall into in architecture school, where you're kind of, you know, focused on your designs and your work, and then you kind of don't spend time looking kind of outside to the wider industry and really understand what's going on, like when you actually go out to practice. And I think through like kind of becoming a part of the architecture community, we've also kind of, you know, become aware of some of the issues in the industry that we can kind of mentally prepare for, like, you know, certain working environments when you know, start out, which might, you know, not be, how do I put it, like unhealthy working environments, or just in general the things that you kind of need to be aware of.
That's really,
so,
yeah,
I
like,
think,
yeah, go ahead, I understand. Like, go ahead, just finish. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's something that like we've kind of become more aware of, I think, and where we've engaged in other platforms that talk about those kinds of things. Without those kind of connections, we probably would have, you know, been going into the industry just thinking that any firm is going to look after us and support us in our career, but I don't know, it's just exposed us to the reality of architecture as well.
That's why there are things that you can know right now, as you guys created this one, which is awesome. I mean, like, you can ask anybody anything right now. You can communicate and dial in and just ask, and, you know, share a story about anything, and so many people will answer. So it's really beautiful. So about this conversation, I want to give like 5 minutes, 10 minutes break. Maybe later we can go for the second session, and then we see maybe for the next session, like just want to go little in detail about some of your posts, like how you guys, how is the workflow and other stuff like that. So if you guys enjoy that one, would you like it to have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds
Okay,
good.
maybe I'm closing this one now. Then we'll see you in the next session. And I'll be like, okay, hold on,
Perfect.
drum. I should do the drum. This is too long, by the way. I need to have the shorter version of it. Yeah.